The ceremonial arena stretched before Captain Jalen looked like a gladiatorial nightmare, its obsidian walls carved with ancient Threxeri battle hymns. Across the blood-stained sand, Warlord Gorthak towered nearly 8 feet tall, his 4 muscular arms wielding traditional warblades that gleamed like liquid mercury. "Human," Gorthak's voice rumbled through the arena's acoustics, "your diplomacy ends here. Only blood speaks to the Threxeri." Jalen adjusted his grip on the ceremonial sword they'd given him, barely adequate against the alien war machine before him. The weight of 2 civilizations pressed on his shoulders. When negotiations had collapsed 3 hours ago, invoking the ancient right of single combat had seemed like humanity's only chance to prevent galactic war. The first clash nearly shattered Jalen's arm. Gorthak's 4-bladed assault was overwhelming, each strike calculated to exploit human limitations. But Jalen had one advantage: unpredictability. While Threxeri fought with honor and tradition, humans fought dirty. He rolled between Gorthak's legs, slashing at the alien's ankles. The Warlord roared, spinning with surprising grace. Jalen barely ducked a decapitating strike, then drove his elbow into Gorthak's knee joint, a move no honorable Threxeri would attempt. The crowd's cheers turned to gasps as their champion stumbled. Jalen pressed his advantage, using momentum and leverage against brute strength. When Gorthak raised all 4 arms for a killing blow, Jalen drove his sword upward into the gap in the Warlord's ceremonial armor. Gorthak's eyes widened in shock before he toppled backward, purple blood pooling beneath him. Silence. Then explosive roars of approval from the Threxeri masses. High Matron Zelthra descended from the royal platform, her pale purple skin marked with intricate tattoos of rank. "By the blood-bonded code of our ancestors," she announced, her voice carrying across the arena, "the victor shall take the daughters of the fallen as his mates." "What now?" Jalen panted, still processing his survival. 3 figures emerged from the shadows. The eldest, Kirill, moved with predatory grace, her dark curls framing fierce amber eyes. Lanaya, the middle daughter, watched him with calculating intelligence. Vexa, barely past Threxeri adulthood, bounded forward with unconcealed curiosity. "Congratulations, Captain," Zelthra smiled. "You've just acquired 3 wives." The ceremonial chambers beneath the arena were a maze of polished crystal corridors and bioluminescent plants that pulsed with soft purple light. Jalen found himself in luxurious quarters, still wearing his blood-stained combat gear when the door chimed. Kirill entered first, her warriors bearing unmistakable. She'd changed into flowing ceremonial robes that emphasized her athletic build. "So, human," she said, circling him like a predator, "you defeated my father through trickery." "I use strategy," Jalen replied carefully. "Strategy." She tasted the word. "Show me these human tactics." Without warning, she lunged forward, testing his reflexes. He caught her wrist, their faces inches apart. Her amber eyes sparked with something between anger and intrigue. "Interesting." Before he could respond, she swept his legs. He went down hard, but pulled her with him. They landed in a tangle of limbs, her dark curls brushing his face. The tension between them crackled like electricity before she pushed away, a slight smile playing at her lips. "I'll accept you as my mate," she said, "when you prove you're worthy of more than luck." Lanaya arrived as Kirill left, carrying data tablets and moving with scholarly precision. Her pale purple skin seemed to glow in the chamber's light. "Fascinating," she murmured, studying him openly. "Human musculature is more compact than our text suggested." Thank you." Jalen wasn't sure how to respond to being analyzed like a specimen. "Your neural patterns during combat, the improvisation, the lateral thinking. It's remarkable." She moved closer, her fingers hovering near his temple. "May I?" The touch sent unexpected warmth through him. Her mental probe was gentle but thorough, exploring his thoughts with intimate precision. When she withdrew, her cheeks had darkened to a deeper purple. "You're more complex than I expected," she whispered, her usual composure cracking slightly. Vexa burst in moments later, all energy and curiosity. Are you really going to mate with all three of us? She asked with startling directness. Because I've never seen a human male before, and I have so many questions. Her enthusiasm was infectious despite the bizarre circumstances. When she touched his hand, comparing their finger lengths, the innocent contact felt surprisingly charged. Her dark curls bounced as she tilted her head, studying him with wonder rather than calculation. This is going to be interesting, Jalen muttered, realizing he was genuinely attracted to all three women despite the political complexity of their situation. 3 days into his engagement, Jalen discovered Threxeri courtship involved far more than he'd bargained for. Each sister took turns educating him about their customs, and the lessons were intensive. Among our people, Lanaya explained during their late-night study session, mental compatibility is as important as physical attraction. She dismissed her attendants, leaving them alone in the vast library. Crystalline shelves stretched toward the vaulted ceiling, filled with texts that glowed softly in the dim light. What does that mean exactly? Jalen asked, though her proximity on the reading couch was making concentration difficult. It means this. She placed her palm against his forehead, and suddenly he could feel her thoughts, her curiosity about human emotion, her growing fascination with his tactical mind, and underneath it all, a warm current of desire she was trying to suppress. Lanaya, he whispered, and she leaned closer, her breath warm against his skin. Is this acceptable to humans? She asked, her usual scholarly composure wavering. Instead of answering, he kissed her. Her response was immediate and passionate, her mental barriers dissolving as she pressed against him. Her skin was surprisingly warm, and when she gasped against his lips, he could taste something sweet and exotic. They moved together with growing urgency, her robes sliding away as she showed him just how compatible they really were. Later, as they lay entwined among scattered data tablets, she traced patterns on his chest. Kirill will challenge you tomorrow, she murmured. She's been preparing. What kind of challenge? The kind where she'll try to seduce you into submission. Lanaya's smile was wicked. She believes physical dominance establishes hierarchy. The next morning brought exactly that confrontation. Kirill appeared in the training hall wearing form-fitting combat gear that left little to imagination. Your human fighting style intrigues me, she said, circling him slowly. But can you handle a real warrior? Their sparring match quickly evolved into something more primal. Every grapple, every pin, carried electric tension. When she finally had him pinned, her body pressed against his, both of them breathing hard, the challenge in her eyes shifted to something hungrier. You're stronger than you look, she whispered against his ear. So are you, he replied, and flipped their positions. The kiss that followed was fierce and demanding, matching her warrior spirit. But beneath her strength, he sensed vulnerability, a need to be accepted as an equal rather than conquered. Meanwhile, Vexa's approach was refreshingly direct. The Galactic Council is asking questions, she announced, appearing in his quarters with her usual boundless energy. They want to know if this arrangement is politically motivated. What do you think? Jalen asked. She considered this seriously. I think politics brought us together, but that doesn't mean we can't make it real. The first crisis came when Ambassador Thorne arrived from the Galactic Council, his disapproval radiating like a shield. Captain Rook, this arrangement is highly irregular. The Council questions whether personal relationships should dictate interstellar policy. Jalen stood in the Grand Hall flanked by his 3 wives-to-be, their united front more intimidating than any military formation. Ambassador, with respect, this arrangement prevented a war that would have cost millions of lives. But at what cost to human dignity? Thorne's voice dripped condescension. Kirill stepped forward, her warrior's stance unmistakable. You question the honor of our union? Perhaps you prefer to discuss it in the arena? The threat was clear, and Thorne paled. But it was Lanaya who delivered the killing blow with cool precision. Ambassador, our intelligence networks have documented 17 similar diplomatic marriages in Galactic Council history. Shall I provide the data? Vexa, meanwhile, had been quietly working her own magic among the council's junior staff, her infectious enthusiasm winning allies through sheer charm. Besides, she added with a grin, love is the best diplomacy. That evening, as political tension simmered, Jalen found himself alone with Kirill in the weapons training chamber. The artificial gravity made their movements fluid, almost dance-like, as they sparred with ceremonial blades. "You're improving," she noted, deflecting his strike with casual grace. "I have excellent teachers," he replied, trying a combination she'd shown him. She caught his blade with her own, their faces inches apart. "The council fears what we represent, a bridge between worlds." Her amber eyes were serious. "Are you ready for that responsibility?" "With you?" "Yes." This time when they kissed, it was without the desperate edge of their first encounter. Kirill's strength was gentler now, her passion tempered with trust. As their sparring gear fell away, she showed him the vulnerability beneath her warrior's mask, her touch reverent and fierce in equal measure. Later, Vexa found them in the observatory, where the artificial night sky displayed the constellations of both human and Threxeri space. "The moons are aligned," she said, settling beside them with characteristic directness. "It's considered highly auspicious." "For what?" Jalen asked. "For new beginnings." She leaned against him, her natural warmth melting his remaining reservations. "I've been thinking about what the ambassador said, about dignity and choice. And I choose this. I choose you. All of us together." Her kiss was sweet and eager, full of promise and possibility. As the three sisters worked together to integrate him into their family structure, Jalen realized he was no longer just preventing war, he was building something entirely new. The final bonding ceremony took place in the Temple of Eternal Cycles, its crystal walls reflecting the light of three suns. Jalen stood before the assembled Threxeri nobility and human diplomatic corps, wearing ceremonial robes that merged both cultures' designs. High Matron Zelthera raised the ceremonial chalice. "By blood spilled in honor, by wisdom shared in trust, by passion given freely, we bind these souls across the void between worlds." Each sister approached in turn. Kirill, resplendent in warrior's ceremonial armor, offered her strength. Lunaya, wearing the deep blue robes of a scholar, brought her mind. Vexa, bright in the gold of youth and possibility, gave her heart. The binding ritual was unlike anything in human experience, a mental and physical joining that left Jalen feeling complete in ways he'd never imagined. When the ceremony concluded, the assembled crowd erupted in celebration that could be heard across the capital. Their wedding night was a revelation. In the privacy of their shared chambers, with no political pressures or cultural expectations, they explored each other with joyful abandon. Kirill's fierce passion, Lunaya's thoughtful intimacy, and Vexa's playful curiosity created a harmony that transcended simple physical pleasure. "Is this what humans call love?" Lunaya asked afterward, her head resting on his chest while her sisters curled beside them. "It's what I call love," Jalen replied, stroking her dark curls. "All of it. All of you." 6 months later, the Threxeri-Human Alliance had become the most stable partnership in the galaxy. Trade flourished, cultural exchange programs bloomed, and the threat of war had become a distant memory. Jalen stood in the embassy's command center, reviewing reports from across known space. Other species were requesting similar diplomatic arrangements, hoping to replicate their success. "The Zephyrians want to discuss marriage customs," Vexa announced, bouncing into the room with her usual energy. "Apparently, they have 17 genders and very complicated rituals." "That's tomorrow's problem," Kirill said, entering with her characteristic grace. "Today, we have more important matters." She gestured to Lunaya, who was carrying a data tablet with barely contained excitement. "The medical scans are conclusive," Lunaya announced, her scholarly composure cracking into pure joy. "The genetic compatibility treatments worked. All 3 of us are pregnant." Jalen felt his world shift on its axis, again. But this time, Surrounded by his extraordinary wives and the promise of a future that would truly bridge worlds, he welcomed the change. "Well," he said, pulling them close, "I guess we're really going to change the galaxy." Outside the embassy windows, the three suns of Threxeri Prime set in a blaze of colors that painted the sky in shades of hope and possibility. In the distance, construction crews worked on the new joint settlement where human and Threxeri families would live together, creating something unprecedented in galactic history. The war hero who'd saved the galaxy had indeed survived alien marriage politics. More than that, he'd found love, built a family, and created a legacy that would echo through the stars for generations to come.